Hey, everybody. Thanks for showing up to the live stream tonight. Got a couple panel guests here with me. Something came across my attention just a few hours ago, and I thought, man, this would make a good live stream, especially for sort of the confluence of the people that I've had on here and the people that I jump on live stream panels with as well. Ironton Auditor here being one of them, and some of other of Captain Chad's Leducators community and buddies. And I just thought, man, this one's right up their alley. Plus, if you've watched my last couple live streams, you know I've had some serious tech issues, and I've worked on them a little bit and wanted to see if I'd succeeded in fixing anything at all. So I decided, hey, let's do this one. It's nice and simple. It's one that shouldn't bring too much heat up. Actually, this one may be a little fun for us, I think. But Kyle and Ironton Auditor here, Terry, neither one of them have seen this, and as far as I know, neither one have any idea what I'm gonna show here in a little bit. So we ought to be able to have a little fun with this, and like I said, see if I can keep the live stream going without a lot of dropouts. And if I can, then maybe I fix my problem or the majority of it at least. So, anyways, if you've not already, do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and once you hit the subscribe, then hit that notification bell so that whenever we come up with content in the future, you'll get a notification letting you know. Excuse me. So, anyways, let me introduce my panel here. I got my buddy Kyle Featheroff, and Kyle is a good friend of mine. My one of probably a couple best friends in a tie. You guys know how that goes in life. You got people that you can't say best friend as in somebody else isn't just as good, but they fill different parts in your life, and that's a great thing. And Kyle has definitely taken a big chunk of my life in the last few years. He was a student of mine, then I was an employee of his, and now we work together and do lots of other things together, like drink and smoke cigars and a bunch of other things. So, what's that?
All the essentials.
All the essentials, right? All the fun stuff in life, all the important stuff. And for those of you that don't already know, we got Ironton Auditor here. Ironton is. I tell you what. Let me go ahead and let you introduce yourself, Terry, unless you have a mouthful of something or other.
No, buddy, I wouldn't know how to introduce myself. I think everybody pretty well knows me. I'm just me. We all can't be rich and powerful. Some of us are just short, furry, and funny, and that explains me better than anything.
Well, you may be short, furry, and funny. I'm not sure about that, but last time I saw you actually on video, you were also Dayglow Orange.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said last time I actually saw you on video, you weren't just short, funny, and furry. You were also Dayglow Orange. So for those of you that don't know, hey Shay,
we all can't be great.
Right, I hear you. I see you there, Shay. Thanks for being here, and Della Perry, thanks for being here as well. And ZXL, I'm not sure if you're still here or not, but thanks for stopping by, anyways. No, what Ironton Auditor is Ironton Auditor, I believe, unless he corrects me, is a First Amendment auditor. And he does what's called auditing on law enforcement. In other words, whenever he has the opportunity, he shows up and checks them out and makes sure they're doing a great job in the community, and if there's nothing untoward going on. And that's why he's a good person on these panels to have, talking about a lot of different things in the community. So
I also do those Second Amendment audits too. I'm always strapped up every time you see me out.
Gotcha. I as I was saying it, I was thinking that too, and just hadn't got to it yet. So thanks for the correction. So those of you that haven't been here before, I am Tom Hall. That's why the place is called The Hall Pass, and just getting this channel up and going, and got a lot of great things planned. However, I hit some serious speed bumps the last couple of weeks, and I was trying to do some shows, and all I had was tech difficulties. So I backed up for about a week and kind of come at it from a different angle, corrected a couple tech issues, I hope. And to be honest, man, when you're not doing this steady, you kind of lose a groove. And Kyle, you hit me a couple times and said, hey, man, I haven't seen you scheduling anything. What's up? And that kind of kicked my booty into gear a little bit. And I said, I gotta at least give me a trial test run. So I got a tripled the RAM on the computer. And I thought that was the easiest way to see if I could fix that first. So anyways, we'll see how things are working. And I tell you what, it's already seems better, because the last couple of times I would have already been glitching a little bit. So I think I think I've found some of the problem at least. Yes, Della Perry, I appreciate that. Let's smash that like button, or as what is it the chili auditors say there, Terry? The button, hit the
Touch that
button.
like button. Take your finger and touch that like button.
Button, yeah.
The
And I didn't know what you guys were talking about until I watched one of his videos, and I'm like, oh my god, that is how he says it. So I got it after I
I'm
got
more
it.
interested in how he spells it.
I'm not so sure he spells. So if he's
Well, he attempts to.
what's that?
I said he attempts to spell, but he's not very good at it. He's a constitutional law scholar who doesn't know anything about law and doesn't write a
Or the
whole lot.
Constitution, yeah, or the Constitution.
Right.
It's kind of like that one night we were on here, and Sovereign, the guy you guys call Sovereign, was on with me or on with us, and he was saying a ton of stuff, and it was very little I disagree with, right? But it was the way he interpreted the facts that we had entirely different outcomes on the same set of facts. Right. And that's the way I see Chili, is he doesn't say anything that's absolutely completely wrong. Like we don't have freedom of speech. He doesn't say anything that's silly, but he'll say it in a way that, man, it sounds so good for a while. And then you're like, whoa, what did he just say? I mean, that's the way I feel about Ron Paul. I can get on board with him for I don't know, 89 minutes out of a 90-minute speech. And then all of a sudden he says something somewhere. I'm like, whoa, where did he go with that? And that's the way what I've watched Chili, that's the way it is. Other than his annoying repetitiveness that drives me insane, and I can't watch him for too long. Shay says that I guess you're saying Chili got his bacon burnt. Is that is that who you're talking about, Shay?
Somebody got their bacon burned anyway.
Yeah, something like that. Not sure.
Burnt bacon.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I could read that so many different ways, so I'm really afraid to venture on this one. Especially Shay is she says yes, that's what she's talking about. She said Shay is also an acquaintance I have from my employment, so to speak, without going into where I'm employed. So I tell you what, guys.
Hey, Tom, I don't know if you know that Della Perry out there is actually my wife.
No, I did not. I was unaware of who that was.
Well, now you are in the know, sir.
I am definitely in the know. Wherever I was before, now that's where I'm at. I was in the unknown. Okay, hold on. I'm still clicking buttons here, trying to figure out stuff. So, okay. Yeah. So I found out, Terry, that unfortunately Blue Bear is having a live stream scheduled for the exact same time. So I think a lot of the people that may have jumped in with me aren't going to be here, but that's okay. I've got one good friend. I've got you guys, and your tech issues seem to be going pretty good, Terry.
Oh, they are for the moment. Let's hope the internet holds out. Sometimes it's just my internet connection that doesn't like it, and it causes me to drop out. So if that happens, I apologize. I'll try to come back if I can.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just to let you guys know, the last live stream I did and had so much trouble, the guy that I had on as a guest was he's an IT guy. And so afterwards, we stayed here in I guess they call it the lobby or the stream or whatever, and we talked, and he had me testing my internet speeds and everything. My internet speeds were great. So that was the issue. So then we started talking about the next easiest thing to check, and that's why I went with the RAM upgrade. So that appears to be it, because this computer is the one I was on last time, and it's hardwired into the internet. It's not Wi-Fi'd. So I didn't think that was the issue. And so anyways, making big strides here, I feel like, and your internet seems to be working well, Terry. So, and Kyle's doing well. So this is crazy. This is the first non-glitchy dropping out constantly I've had now in, I don't know, about like the last 3. So I'm feeling pretty happy.
Just remember, when you're playing around there, if you wonder what this button's for, click it and find out. The worst that happens is nothing really, and we just start back over. It's not a big thing.
Right. Well, I think I'll try to only have one disaster at a time and fix it. It's like, oops, I was live. Now I'm not. But Shay says her internet sucks too. I mean, hey, we're in Appalachia, right? I don't know if,
right.
It just is what it is. I know I pay for what, at least when I talked to Spectrum last time, was the fastest speed you can get around here. There was a time that I needed that for sure. My son was living here, and he'd have buddies over we'd have 4 Xboxes hooked up to live, 7 or 8 phones going on, plus 3 or 4 live streaming TVs. And so that's when I paid for it back then. I don't think I need that anymore, but now that I'm doing this, I don't think I want to downgrade. So here we are. But
just be glad where we live, we actually have an internet connection, man. We're just lucky not to be 30 years behind the rest of the country on it.
Amen. I mean, look, even around our area, look at the places, Walmart still sells DVDs. Why is that?
Right.
There's people out in the middle of nowhere that can't stream anything. They're still buying DVDs. So yeah, it's good.
I will have I'll have y'all know, just to add a little humor to that. I'm actually I'm close to where I grew up at. It's a little east and a little north, but I'm in the Belpre, Ohio area tonight, and there's actually still a video store here that rents
Wow.
DVDs. Yeah, it's a little local place. They provide parcel services. They ship and ship parcels and things like that. But it's also a video store, and I've noticed it for the first time in 3 or 4 years as I was coming through down the night. Wow. So we're I guess we're not the only ones still living in living a few decades behind.
So Kyle, would you like to do some product placement for companies that are not sponsoring us?
Sure. Yeah. No endorsement.
So maybe the show is not sponsored by Jim Dickel Bottled and Bond tonight. George Dickel. However, I am sponsored by them tonight. So
I've got and what'd you tell me, Tommy? That's the Jack Daniel's.
Oh, that yeah. I got my issue of Whiskey Advocate magazine a couple days ago, and this is the end of the year edition. So what is it? Monthly. It's not an edition. That's in a paper. It's the end of the year issue. There we go. Issue. The end of the year issue. And hey, Rebecca.
May
Joe,
I ask one of those whiskey questions, sir? Since you're so educated in whiskey, I noticed that they're bonded whiskeys, and that's a word that I have not heard of in association with whiskey. Okay. What is a bonded whiskey?
I will be happy to fill you in here in just a second. So what he was saying about the bottle he just showed you was that one, even though that is a standard off-the-shelf $30 bottle, that won Best Whiskey of 2022 by Whiskey Advocate magazine, and that's what he was referring to. Yeah, I know. That's actually, in the whiskey world, that's a gigantic big deal, especially considering it's a $30 bottle. That's a really big deal. So the one I'm drinking tonight is not on the list, but it's not a 2022 thing either. But oh yeah, Shay, I'm about to light up a cigar here in a second. But so Bottled and Bond, I'll give you the quick and easiest version. So in the 1890s, you had whiskey was mostly being adulterated by fake versions. You'd have local moonshiners doing their own, then putting it in the barrels that they'd emptied earlier. Same kind of, like we got the knockoff stuff today. You know what I mean? Same kind of thing. Black market stuff, knockoffs. So you would have knockoff whiskey going on, and you had one of the big guys in whiskey, one of the robber barons of whiskey, was very well connected in Congress, and he got the News Network. Appreciate you being here. So he got the Bottled and Bond Act passed, and that was to give a quality guarantee to bottles of whiskey. So used to Bottled and Bond would have the little paper strap over the top of it with like a tax stamp. It used to have that. That's not really necessary as much anymore. But the parts that we still do are Bottled and Bond has to be 100 proof. Bottled and Bond has to be a minimum of years, and I get fuzzy on details of lots of things, so I'm pretty sure it has to be a minimum 2 years old. It has to be bottled. It has to be distilled in the same season, barreled in the same season, aged all of it for the exact same amount of time. It has to be taken all out and bottled in the same season. As well as the time frame that it is stored. Now, here's the cool part you'll like, Terry. The cool part is that while it is stored in what's called a bonded warehouse. That warehouse has like a nuclear submarine type lock on it. Requires requires 2 keys to enter the warehouse. The revenuer man has 1 key, the ATF guy, and the master distiller has the other key, or his representative. So the idea is the master distiller nor none of the employees of the distillery even can go in and mess with them while they're aging. So the bottled and bond, they're totally separated from everything else. So it's sort of a more than anything else these days, instead of it being a stamp of quality, because we don't have too much adulterated liquor on actual shelves today. So today, what it really lets you know is sort of a standard quality level on a certain bottle. And you already know when you see it bottled in bond, that's going to be 100 proof. You can compare apples to apples very well with bottled in bond. So that's sort of the down, dirty, and quick. There's a lot more details than that, but that's kind of the quick and easy version of what bottled in bond means. So
Well,
we're both.
thank you very much for the education. I appreciate it.
No problem. Since he was drinking bottled in bond, I thought, well, let me go get a different one. And he's drinking Tennessee whiskey, Jack Daniels. So I decided to get an alternate Tennessee whiskey, which is George Dickel. So we're both drinking 100 proof Tennessee whiskey, bottled in bond.
I did want to say, Tommy, it says here now whether or not this is the minimum, I don't know. On the bottle here, it does say bottled in bond, distilled by a single distiller during a single season, and matured in a government bonded warehouse for at least. So I don't know.
Okay, that's what I said when I said 2. I knew there was a year, and I couldn't remember if it was 2, 3, or 4. So yeah, it's 4 then. I knew I probably had that off, but was just giving it a shot there. But anyways, bottled in bond. Yeah. So that's one of the things for those of you that haven't tuned in before. I'm also a whiskey tasting instructor, a certified whiskey tasting instructor through Whiskey University, and actually did on Repeal Day. If you scroll down my videos, you can watch the video I did for Repeal Day, which was the 81st anniversary of the repeal of Prohibition, which made whiskey in America legal again. So anyways, that's a show. We talked a lot about whiskey on that one that night. I actually had one of my professors from Whiskey University on as a guest. So that was pretty cool. So
now, the only thing we need to do, Tom, we need to dox your address so we can all join you for that whiskey tasting education.
Well, maybe, I was actually thinking I need to do some shows on it. Maybe I could even preview them and say, hey, put out some average bottles, that everyone could go buy if they wanted. Say, have a couple of these on hand, and we'll do a little live stream whiskey class. Maybe I can come up with something like that. But
that sounds interesting. I have to admit, bourbon's always been my favorite, but it's not like I've tasted every whiskey out there. I've drank a little blended, a little bourbon, but I'm not a whiskey expert by any means, and I can walk past a bottle and walk funny, so I have to be very careful how much I taste, or I'll not be able to continue a show. But I'm a very lightweight kind of guy.
You're a cheap date, and I like cheap dates.
Right.
Because
I always tell everybody I'm like a dirty slut. I'm cheap and easy, man. That's it. I love my life cheap and easy.
Well, if it wasn't for certain guests I had on here right now, I would make a few choice comments myself. But I like those kind of dates. I'll just put it that way. So let's see here. Let me put on the stream what I wanted to preview tonight, or not preview, but comment on. And you can see there by the title, what it's mostly going to be about. So I'm not really going to give anyone too big of a. There we go. So as you guys know, or I still haven't figured out the technical part of being able to watch it and play it all at the exact same time. So we're going to see how this works. I will try. But to give you the preview, I got this on a notification on my phone. I don't remember what app notified me. But I went in and I read the story first before I watched the video. So this is in Alabama, and this is the local police going in to arrest and handcuff an 82-year-old woman for failing to pay a garbage bill.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pretty amazed. Now, this happened in 2006. I guess for whatever reason, somebody just noticed the public access to this body cam and discovered this recently, because I did find it headlined in several places after I discovered it. So obviously it's something that's been released to the public recently, or someone just found it looking through archives or something and said, holy moly, can't believe this happened. So that's what this video is about. And I haven't even watched all 11 minutes. I only watched like the first couple, and I figured that's plenty enough to get us a good conversation going. So we probably won't be watching the entire thing, but let's go ahead and let me get this started.
Okay, they're gonna be in the front. I am so sorry, but the law is the law, Miss Man.
Marth Menif handcuffed and arrested for not paying dollar.
I'm not joking.
Look at that look on her face.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna handcuff me and take me to get it?
Yes, ma'am. I got you.
What's your name?
I'm so serious. It's a warrant. The face, and here's all your information. That's how I knew we would come. You should have a phone call from the customer about a pickup saying, "Hey, you need to come pay your trash bill."
Really, I'm not saying anything because my daughter takes care of that for me. You know, I'm just saying.
Okay, well, she has not been doing it, and you gotta go with me today. Anything, grab right quick you can, and we'll be going on down the way.
So what would I have to pay?
It'd be $285 to get out at the PD. If not, the county jail.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, I'm gonna put you in the. They're gonna be in the front.
Oh, wait.
I got you. I got you. Okay. The law is the law, Miss Man. All right, Miss Man, if you gotta get ready to go, okay?
Okay. King, they arrested me for not paying my trash bill. And you know, Frank always pay my trash bill. Tell them off. Get somebody to get me.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna come around right here. Don't follow. Okay, my bad, my bad. I just want you to follow the water for them. Okay.
So, what do you guys think of that?
Well, I will say, Tommy, and this may be me. I know you've been working hard to get the tech stuff. It was kind of choppy and cutting in and out.
Yeah, I could see it was glitching. I saw it was glitching some, but I learned through my research that sometimes when it looks glitchy to me on my StreamYard, it's actually not. That to the broadcast. Right. So I couldn't tell if it was or it wasn't. So I just let it go until somebody said something. But yeah, I mean, we got Shay over here commenting on the video, so I guess she was seeing most of it at least.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt during the during the stream of the video or anything, but just for sake of trying to help you sort out the tech stuff, it was kind of choppy. I got the gist of it though. Definitely really strange. I'm not familiar with Alabama laws, per se. I mean, some of the same apps and stuff that you and I use. Say if I'm carrying through Alabama, I'm familiar with maybe some of those laws and stuff. If I can still carry and things like that, but and certainly not what looked like. I believe the car said City of Valley, Alabama. So I don't know if it's some kind of.
I wasn't aware.
Something. Without knowing the laws, I guess I can't really say, but I can't say I've ever heard of anyone else anywhere during my lifetime being arrested for a $77 unpaid trash bill.
Right.
Or
Terry.
I'll
Yeah, I
tell
was,
you what I think. I think it's absolutely damned ridiculous. And I wish that some of these police officers out there, see, you're talking about the law, and I got to be honest, there's times when I don't give two shits what the law says. And the big problem is you need police officers who are able and willing to do what's right, regardless of what they're told to do. Right here, you have a couple order followers. They'll do what they're told to do, regardless of what is right. But a moral man will do what is right, regardless of what he's told to do. And there's our failure right there.
Very true.
amen, brother.
Agree
Amen,
100.
brother. You gonna shake hands as I leave church? Because that was some good preaching.
Well, I'm good at it, man.
No, seriously, that's sort of what I was. So when I first watched it, my first thought was, wait a minute, that's not a very big amount. That was my first thought. Then I was like, wait a minute, the amount's irrelevant. Then I'm thinking, wait a minute, trash
Right.
bill. Holy, what are you kidding? And then when I read the actual story, it's actually at the time, like I said, this is a 2006 video. So this is more to me, when I think about reviewing this and reacting to this video, to me, it's more about just overall concepts of law, right and wrong, tyranny, liberty. To me, so they may have changed the law. I'm sure they've had a bunch of different town councils in between 2006 and 2022. However, at some point, somebody on that town council, and this is what I was reading in the actual article, they made failure to pay a utility bill a misdemeanor offense, an actual criminal offense. And that's sort of that's the nugget I was left with that caused me to go, oh my God, this would be a great reaction video, because look at all the debts owed by all kinds of people, right? To federal government, state government, local government. That's not crimes. That's what civil courts are for. I'm not saying
Now you know. I'm sorry. Now you know why they aren't finding any missing persons and no murder cases are solved. Now you know why this shit actually doesn't happen, is because they send them out to do crap like this.
Right. And that's what Rebecca Joe was saying here. I think there would be more concerning matters to keep police busy. Well, I mean,
Exactly.
we all know just recently that with all the insanity going on around the country and to the country, the FBI spent a couple years on Twitter trying to monitor jokes. So
Right.
yeah, so we got all kinds of issues out there like that. Yes, there are definitely more pressing matters. However, and I am casting aspersions here. I'm not going to say I'm not. I am. But when you're a small town cop like that, you may want to make sure that the money coming into the city comes in so you can keep your job. So, I don't know those guys. But the reason I let it run to the point that it did was, did you hear how they kept saying, "Oh, we do this all the time. It's no big deal."
Right. Right. Yeah, it's no big deal. You're a criminal now. It's not that big of a deal, lady. Get in the car.
Yeah, but be careful not to step in the water puddle on your way through. We'd be concerned if that happened to you.
I mean, the cynical
Well, it's
side
all
of
about
me-
your personal safety, Kyle. It's all about your personal safety. We care so much about you. We're going to keep you safe. We're going to keep you locked up and take all your freedom away, but we're going to keep you safe while we do that.
We don't want your shoes to get
We're
wet
gonna
on the way.
Right.
We're going to keep you safe, damn it, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And did you hear?
If we have
says
to shoot
handcuffs.
you to save your life, we will do that. Don't think we won't kill you to save your life. It's been done many times in this country. It'll just be one more on the list. Get ready.
Yeah.
Right. So those that are watching and those that will watch later when it's not live, the point that sticks in my head is, and I know you're going to love this one, Terry. I wish Sovereign was here for this one, but is I hate any law that lets the government do something that an average citizen can't do. I can't criminalize somebody owing me money. I can't put out an arrest warrant. I can't swear out a warrant to get somebody arrested because, Billy Bob didn't pay me my $50. That doesn't work for me.
Well,
And it shouldn't work for
can
government
I
either.
ask you a logical question?
Sure.
If you were the trash guy, right, you're responsible for billing the trash. If they didn't pay their trash bill this month, why would you pick it up next month? Why would you allow it to build until it gets to a criminal level? I mean, that sounds like a stupidity problem and not a non-payment problem. That's just my
not only
opinion.
that, did you hear the part where she said, "Well, how much do I have to pay?" And he said
$200 and some dollars. Yeah, ridiculous for a $77 trash bill. Now we have to make money on it because we're the police and we want money. We like money.
Right. That's what I was saying. Is it seems to me like that small town police force is not only order takers, like you're saying, not thinking much about the right and wrong of an issue, but also maybe worried about, well, we got to make sure all the municipal type money comes in. So we don't mind enforcing that because that makes sure we keep our jobs. Yeah, I think that was one of the most disgraceful things that
That would have embarrassed me right out of the police department. I'm telling you what, I would have quit a job based on that, or let them fire me, one or the other, because I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
City of Alabama, trust me, I'll stay the hell out of there. I mean, that's unreal, man.
Well, get ready, because I think this is going to be normalized across the country. It's coming. Don't think it's not coming. It's coming for all of us. This and a lot worse.
I'll tell you too, and not to hijack the conversation here and turn it into something, but it is on the same basis. But I can tell you, just from a business standpoint, a prime example would be, we've had issues with trash companies, not fulfilling their end, us paying the bill and trash not being picked up for this or that reason, whatever excuse they happen to have that week. So at what point do we get to, call the cops, say, hey, go arrest whoever's in charge of making sure this gets done? Because I'm paying the bill. They're basically taking my money. They're thieving from me and not doing what they said they're going to do.
See, now that's exactly
the
part of
moment
the
when they
problem.
would threaten. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, when it goes one way and not the other, that's always just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that's the point where the police would tell you, yes, you can file that report and we'll arrest you for filing a false police report and taking our time, so we'll make you pay for it anyway.
Right. Bad, man. Really, really sad.
Wouldn't doubt it. So that's a local government. I mean, obviously, that would not fly at certain levels because that's what civil court's for. For those of you that don't know, especially like I got Shay out there, so I'll give you throw in a little government education here. Whenever there's matters of you owe me, I owe you, or contract disputes like property lines and all those kinds of all those little seemingly technical issues that we all find ourselves running afoul of throughout life with our neighbors or with the companies we deal with, that's all civil court's for. Civil court means that there's nobody here's a criminal. Nobody here is going to go to jail. Nobody's considered a quote, bad person by the fact that you're in court on a civil matter. Divorces are civil matters. Child custody is civil matters. Child protections are civil matters. Usually, bills and who you owe and who you haven't paid and all those kinds of things. Those are all civil matters. We don't criminalize them. And this little town or township or county, I don't know, I didn't get that deep into it, has criminalized not paying a trash bill. That is, and the quote that was in the actual article, they had specifically written it for trash. Now, there was probably another version that was electric and another version that was water. Whatever this little, like my dad used to always call small towns, he would call them Big Potato. So whatever this Big Potato, Alabama was in terms of city, county, whatever, I'm sure they criminalized whatever they had control of, whether it was water, electric, or like our what do we call it here in Ironton, Terry? The Ironton bill. My Ironton bill is about $8 a month. So basically, it's $80 a month to have the privilege of living in Ironton, which is insane, by the way. But if I don't pay
that's not counting all your other taxes. That's just your privilege tax right there.
Privilege tax.
It is. Hey, Kyle, we live in Ironton. Damn it.
Oh,
it's kind of like a convenience fee. A lot of these companies charge you a convenience fee. In other words, I've made it so convenient that I have to charge you more money because I've took all my time to make it convenient.
Right.
Absolutely.
And why not?
We've got to get rich somehow, don't we?
Yeah. I'm just so glad that money collections went back into the community. It's obvious.
It's good work if you can get it.
Yeah.
Anyways, you can see, Terry, why I thought that would be a great one for the rest of that community that is around you and Sovereign and Legicator. I thought that was a great one. And that's why I said earlier to you, I was like, hey, I think we can all agree on this one. That's small town tyranny at its finest right there.
Have you seen the video where they had the lady, and she was, I believe, in her 70s, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to look it up because it's been a couple years back that I saw it. But she was arrested by a man and a female police officer. They ended up either breaking or dislocating her shoulder. And then when they get her to the jail, They literally are sitting there rewatching the body cam footage and like high-fiving each other and shit. He's like, "Did you hear it pop?" And they're like having a real good time because they did this to that old lady. So that might be a future one that you might want to do.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that. Yeah, I'll have to see if
Well,
I can find that. That's my
yeah, I haven't heard.
both of my parents passed recently. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just saying I haven't heard that specific, or at least not that I recall that specific event or story. But unfortunately, I mean it's not uncommon. I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time. I mean, you hear in just conversation between acquaintances or whatever. You hear that kind of stuff all the time. So and so this that. It's everywhere. And it's all about personalities and the people. Like you said earlier there, Terry. It's it comes down to being a yes man versus
Right.
doing what's morally right or wrong. So some people get in certain lines of work, and I'm not speaking about anyone in particular, but certain lines of work, there's just certain people that shouldn't be in certain lines of work.
I agree completely. And it doesn't matter if you're making Big Macs or you're a police officer or a government agent, there's always going to be good and bad everywhere. The problem, I think, has become, as a society, we have been reduced to, if you're a moral person, now we have to cast you out. You're not allowed to be moral. You're not allowed to say this is right and that is wrong, because if you do, we're going to criminalize you and tell you that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You need to tolerate our stupidity.
Exactly.
Well, sometime during our lifetimes, Terry, the concept of even having principles at all has been thrown out. So
Yes,
now
sir.
when you do, now when you're a person that enters into any field or any stream of society and you have principles, you're the rock in the middle of the stream. You're stopping the
Right.
flow, man. You're
Right.
creating a problem. So instead of being what society used to want in all aspects, now you're the opposite. There's no principles. People don't. It's
Right.
rare. You're the rarity instead of used to. That was what we all wanted and what society in general wanted. And of course, there's always been people that don't, et cetera. But now we're talking about trends. We're talking about the majority don't have principles, and principles are laughed at. Like you're some naive guy off of a
Right.
1950s movie now when you even talk about stuff like that.
Exactly. You know, the thing though is I'm finding that I still believe the majority of people are like us. I think it's the minority that aren't. It's just pushed as the majority. And the reason I say that, if you haven't noticed, our channels in this community that we're a part of here on YouTube, especially mine, they are growing. They are growing by leaps and bounds. And it's not because I'm a spectacularly awesome guy. It's just because I'm real. It's because I have a moral compass, and because I'm not afraid to tell you if I believe you're dead frickin' wrong. And I don't care what you think about it, and I don't care how bad your feels get hurt. It's not about your feelings.
I like you, Terry. I don't have it, buddy. If I did, I'd model it that same way.
There you go. There you go. But I remember back, it's probably right around 2006 or so. No, it's probably around closer to 10, 8, whatever. I read one of, I think it was his first one, Judge Napolitano's books. Have you read any of those, Terry? Judge Andrew Napolitano?
Sorry about that. No, I have not.
Like I said, I think it was the first book he put out. I could be wrong, and I don't even remember the title of it. But I remember reading it. And back then, this was a time in my life when I was starting to, change my views on certain things or sort of the angle on the same views. For instance, I was was called back then a law and order conservative. I was the kind of guy, not necessarily the yes man that we just saw those guys are, but I was far closer to that in terms of
if it was written on paper, you followed it, is what I'm assuming, right?
Sort of. In other words, cops searched your vehicle. They found some stuff. So I didn't care whether they got in illegally or not.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because, well, sorry you got caught, but you shouldn't have, you shouldn't have had it kind of deal.
Right.
And then
right.
I began to, but that was before I'd realized like what we just witnessed there, the power of government and what it does to the average guy and sort of why certain parts of our freedoms are the way we are. So I went from what we call a law and order conservative to now I'm more a libertarian constitutionalist conservative. And this is after college. It takes a while, even when you learn stuff, to synthesize it into the way you think, to mold it
Absolutely.
into the way you think and actually change the outcomes in your mind. So I read it, and so the one chapter that I always come back to in my mind is where he's describing. Now, Judge Napolitano was a federal judge, or maybe not a federal judge, but a state appeals level judge. He was a higher level judge than your local dude.
Circuit judge, I believe, maybe.
Yeah, circuit judge, something. Anyways, he's gone a little loony the last few years, but for a long time, man, he was solid as a rock. And he wrote this one chapter where he was talking about, the chapter was all about the things that government is allowed to do that is a crime for us to do. And he was talking about that general concept of why should they be allowed to do pretty much anything that we can't. For instance, the FBI can lie to me all day long. Local cops can lie to me all day long. They can put me in interrogation and lie to me and tell me things that aren't true, to the point where you get people confessing to things that aren't true, because that seems like the better path than sticking to what they are saying the truth. And that's why we get false confessions. But so you get a lot of this lying going on to the average people by the government and especially law enforcement against the people. But it's specifically a crime to lie to law enforcement.
Well, the funny thing is, they lie to you, they call it politics. You lie to them, they call it a felony.
Well, that's a different kind. That's a different lie. There's if you go before Congress and you lie to them, that's a crime. They can actually prosecute you and put you in prison.
Very accurate comment there.
You know, I have to admit, I would rather see 1,000 absolute criminals go free, and to save one innocent man. I would hate to see one innocent man pay the price for something that he doesn't deserve to pay. I would rather see 1,000 criminals go free. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny because Thomas Jefferson said that a long time ago. And as a young man who read all that and studied all that, it was very hard to understand the value of it. I believed it, and I agreed with it, but the depth of what that means and why it's important is really hard to get. Hey there. How you doing? Kyle's chitlins.
It's her birthday, but she brought me a present. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
But,
and by the way, I meant to say this when I first started to stream, and I forgot to. But Merry Christmas to everybody, and a Happy New Year. In case I don't have a chance to say that to anyone watching or you guys here on the panel in between now and New Year's. So
right back at you and to the chat, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, fellas, and to anyone out there who watches later or is currently with us. The only thing you guys are far more versed in this stuff we're currently talking about. I have opinions that I'm not shy about sharing them, but the only thing I will say, bigger with that is it's obvious that clearly it was wrong. Let's just start there. Just knock it all the way down to just what it is. And to think that, like you mentioned, Terry, that happens all over the place, and it's becoming more common practice, and it's hard to think that that's where we are. I guarantee you, when our founding fathers, even everything that was wrong with government, authority and entities at the time, and taxes and every other reason why the things that were done to make our country what it was set out to be. That's where we are. We're arresting elderly folks for paid tax.
Well, understand that I'm on a mission to wake people up and to get them to understand that we, the people, have the power. And that all government really is we give them the authority to sign on the dotted line, period, end of story. We give you the option to speak for us. And at any time we decide we don't like what you say, we can remove your ass. And all of our founding documents say so, including removing the founding documents. Why? Because at the end of the day, we, the people, are the people. We have all the power. We truly do make the decisions. The only thing is, first of all, we have to unite. We got to quit arguing over the stupid stuff. You're gay, I'm straight, you're black, I'm white. We got to quit all that shit. We got to agree to the simple things that we all agree on: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Don't matter this country or the rest of the world. We have to unite together on those ideas, and we have to be responsible and moral. Those are the things that have to happen. If that does, we can change it all. If it doesn't, we're all doomed, and you see it happening right now. United we stand, divided we have already fallen.
Absolutely. Couldn't say that part any better. I thought you were going to say something there, Kyle.
No, did. I said, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean,
guys. I kind of sound like a perpetually pissed off old man, don't I?
that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. I kind of put on a smile for these shows, but I kind of sound that way often too.
We like Tom mentioned earlier. So him and I are we basically the conversation we're having, Terry, between the three of us. Tom and I have these kind of conversations, whether it be on a Tuesday night over the telephone or on a Saturday night, over a couple glasses of bourbon or but it's frequent. I mean, I believe we all feel the same way about all of it, and that's all I was going to say too. Is that I agree 100%, and
That's why I love this platform, because we can get these conversations out to the people who agree. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? They get to join us electronically to start with, and maybe even physically later.
Correct. I mean, this is to me, the phrase about shining a light in dark areas. That's what this is. That's what
Right.
YouTube and platforms like this provide, which is what makes the censorship that we know the FBI was involved in. It's all coming to light now off Twitter. But if it was happening on Twitter, it's happened. It happened during the same time frame on YouTube.
Well,
And
you know,
I don't
it's
know about
almost like a
anybody else.
biblical. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say it's almost like a biblical principle. Know that there is nothing hidden that will not come to light, period. End of story. Your sins will find you out. You can call it karma. You can say what goes around comes around. Everybody's got a way of saying it, but guess what? It always comes back around.
Absolutely. No, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, but my Facebook seems to be a lot less persecuted and shadow banned than it was, say, even 1 month ago. I've got people now responding and liking my Facebook stuff that I haven't seen in years. So I think the writing's on the wall for Facebook. At least they said, "Oh my God, what's going on at Twitter? We'd better back up a little bit." I don't know if anything's going to happen. I'm not predicting anything will happen to the FBI or anyone. But however, I think it caused Facebook to take a step back and say, okay, whatever they were doing, they're not doing as much of it. I've been forbidden from live streaming on Facebook now since, let's see, the 2016 election was in November 2016. Since I think about September 2016, I've been unavailable to live stream or advertise at all on Facebook, which really hurt the business I was in for quite a while. As Kyle would attest, I used to do live streams about the business I was in. Couldn't do that anymore. And they would do them in 90-day increments, right? So I would get a 90-day ban, and then around day 86, I would get another 90-day ban. And sometimes it would be for the exact same post 7 years before. I mean, it wasn't even for anything I'd
Wow.
done recently. Yeah, and they've kept me that way now since 2016. So almost 6 years I've been banned from doing a lot of stuff on Facebook, a lot of useful stuff. So I'm hoping that Elon Musk is coming to the rescue as far as just shining a light, and that's the point of why I'm saying all this is what we were talking about. This place allows us to shine a light on just things we see as ordinary citizens, as we the people, as you said, Terry.
Right. It allows us to come together, have conversations. And, my streams a lot are just me driving around empty streets, man. If you've watched any of them, most of them are boring as all get out. But the conversation we have between, going on in the chat, between me and the chat, that's where the communication is. We spend those hours communicating, talking about things, people, places, ideas. And I have to admit, in the last 10 years, I have lost almost any confidence I had in our government whatsoever. And that's from the top to the bottom, man. Like, I am so not confident in any of them anymore. We don't live in the country that I grew up thinking that I lived in, this land of the free, home of the brave. There aren't any free. And there's like 5 of us who are actually brave. We actually are courageous. We'll go out there and say, hey, we don't like this shit. Everybody else is like, well, I can't say that. They'll retaliate. Well, that's called fear. Get over yourself. I mean, if you're worried about losing your job, then don't say anything against government, because we're talking about losing life and worse, So, you have to know what you're up against.
Well, I'm sure you've seen that meme or some post similar to this where they talk about if you've ever caught yourself self-censoring, then you know where you're at in the process.
Right.
That somebody's now, we all do that with family. We all do that, say, maybe even in church. We may do that on the job. But when you have to do that against just speaking your mind about society in general and about your government, then it's gone seriously south.
Well, the beautiful thing is, I guess, is I have no filter. Now, that's both good and bad. My language is terrible, but I do believe that we live in a time, and I do believe not only in the Bible, but many other pieces and parts of different religions, because all of them have a little bit of truth when you add them all together. You
Well,
know,
truth is
um,
truth.
right, right. Doesn't matter where it came from. Truth will always be true,
And
and a lie will
they
always
could
be a
write
lie.
a book with truth in it, and it's still worth reading. Right. No matter who
So
says it.
I believe God is activating his warriors, and I believe he is activating people like us who seem like the least likely to succeed. Because if you read the Bible, it's always been people like us, always the least likely. The guy with the dirty mouth, the guy with the potty mouth, brought up from absolute destitute poorism, and and now he's on top. He's still destitute and poor, but he has the voice that people listen to.
Right, right. My favorite to look at when I kind of wonder where I'm at in the hierarchy of how God looks at me is I look at David, you know,
Right, right.
and all the stuff he did, and Samson, for instance, and it's the Bible's filled with them. The only one that's not of that kind was Jesus himself. But other than that, it's always been the like you said, he's pulled the dregs up that are still the dregs when it's all said and over with, and he's talked about kings in the same way. David being a murderer, adulterer, coveter, greed. I mean, a whole 9 yards, all of it.
Right.
And was still, a man after God's own heart, the Bible says. So, yeah, I mean, I don't count myself out. I can't say I do my best, spiritually speaking, but,
It's
I do.
never felt so good to be used, has it, Tom?
Right, right, exactly. But let's talk about this quote here. Tones overthinks it. And Tones, I don't think I know you. I don't think I've encountered you on any of the other live streams, but obviously,
How you
Leducator
doing
knows
tonight,
you.
Tones?
So
Tones has his own channel out there, Tom. You should check it out sometime. I think you might
Will
like it.
do. Will do. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for giving us your time. But he said just catching up, and he's already seen that video. He's actually more interested to know what judge and local legislators who we elected and out, of course, signed off on the warrant and made that arrestable. The reason I decided not to even look into or talk about details like that much, Tones, is like I was telling these guys, that's a 2006 video, the article I read said. So all the people on town council are probably gone. All the cops are probably retired. Probably nobody, now that video has been discovered in archives or however it came into the public view in the last 2 days, to warrant that story that we watched. Those
I wonder
people are
if we
probably
looked
all
how many
gone.
more people have been arrested for the same thing, though. I wonder if that continued or if it actually stopped.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would be sort of the follow-up. I'm not exactly an investigative reporter, but yeah, that would be the important thing. I would hope that if they've still been doing that all these years, for one, that says something about the problem locally there, that the people didn't see it the way we see it.
They probably got rid of body cams. That'd fix the problem right there. We wouldn't know about it.
I thought it was kind of unique that it was 2006 and they had the body cams. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that struck me, which again, I don't know how long body cams have been a thing in law enforcement, but at least in our area, I believe they're relatively new. I mean, within the last decade. I could be wrong, but
Our police department has them in Ironton, but the sheriff's department doesn't even have audio recording dash cams or any kind of a body cam, so they're still out there running free.
exactly. Yeah, so it's which brings it back.
Free range law enforcement.
That was a comment I was going to make earlier, Tommy, when you were talking about the village or whatever it may be. The car was clearly marked. The vehicle, the law enforcement vehicle, was clearly marked the city of Valley. So I assume it was not a small, township or village.
Big enough to be an Ironton size, anyways.
Yeah, it would have to be. I mean, large enough to a population large enough to classify it as a city. So.
I don't, we're talking Alabama 2006. I'm not sure how big you got to be called a city in Alabama. I don't know. I mean,
I was unaware
make Alabama jokes. What's that?
I was unaware they had cities in Alabama. And I've been
right.
through it times, but
right.
I
actually like it down there, but
Alabama's beautiful, man. It really is.
Just make sure you pay your trash bill.
Yeah, from my experience, but I've never lived there and not paid a trash bill. So
right. My experience driving through Alabama, I used to have to go down there and pick up my son for parental exchange at different times. and my ex married someone, and that was his home area. So when he retired from the military, that's where they moved back to. And I would drive down there, and I always was struck by it looks so much like Southern Ohio, like Appalachia, but really, really hot. It was like a really hot
Yeah.
Appalachia.
Yeah,
There's a good question for Legicator there, Tom, now that we're on here. Legicator, if you can hear me out there, I don't know if you've seen that video, but basically what happened is they arrested an old lady for not paying a $77 trash bill because it was made illegal in whatever city, county, or whatever they were in. My question is, if tomorrow, if Ironton made that a criminal process, would you actually handcuff an old lady and take her to jail for $77? That's a good question. I just wonder what you think.
They handcuffed her, apologized the whole time, helped her to walk out, and told that she was amazed that they would do that on a Sunday. If I caught what she said right, she goes, "You're going to do this on a Sunday?" And he said, we do it all the time." And he was very gentle and sweet in his language and mannerisms with her, but he's still handcuffing an 82-year-old lady for a $77 trash bill.
Some people think that if you apologize while you're arresting them, it makes you a good cop, but I would seriously disagree.
well, that makes it okay, right? Right. I mean, as long as you're polite. Which I guess I think about that in the terms of, when you always hear the family talking about the nephew or the distant, the third cousin of the relative, or whatever it may be, and they say, "Oh, just bless his heart," and then they say something horrible. As long as you're polite in your mannerisms, and and you're sweet in your actions, or it can be followed by whatever. It doesn't matter.
So as long as I don't beat you, cuff you, and tase you, then it's, or I can cuff you, but I can't beat you or tase you. And as long as I speak nicely to you, then I'm a good cop, even if I'm arresting you for crap.
Purely just doing his job, and it's absolutely acceptable, and there should be no question about it. Yeah.
Right.
He's not answered, so he must be kind of busy, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, he's always busy. You'll have that as a police captain.
Exactly. I don't know how. I still don't know how much he says out there, so I didn't want to say much.
Or at least he's learned how to play the game well, like I did in fast food. I'd wipe off the same counter 100 times a day. Why? Because when the manager walked by, it looked like I was busy, so they left me alone. Maybe he does that too. I don't know.
Tone says, Legicator can answer this better, but I've been told it's standard procedure when transporting someone in police custody to use restraints regardless of circumstance. That's what I've always heard too. I don't know how true it is, but I've always heard the exact same thing. But to me, that always sounded like
it's company policy. But there again, it's one of those questions about whether or not it's right or wrong. I don't give a shit what the rules say. You get what I mean? There's some people that just shouldn't be handcuffed. A lot of these senior citizens, you just took her out of her house. She has no weapons. What is she going to do from the back of that patrol car besides nothing? She's going to sit there and cry all the way to jail because you just made her a criminal for $77.
Well, not only that, I mean, how did they even ask her about disabilities? I didn't hear anything like that. You got an 82-year-old. Did they even ask? I didn't hear it.
As long as she didn't get feet wet in that puddle, I don't think they were concerned.
Well, I mean, do you need to take any meds with you? Is there anything, I didn't even hear anything to, I mean, 82, if you make it to 82, you likely got some issues. And,
right.
Maybe she doesn't, because she did look like a very healthy 82. So maybe she didn't, because you didn't hear her saying anything. But at the same time, law enforcement wasn't saying, hey, is there something we can do? Is there, do you need a walker? Do you need?
Well, they made sure she didn't step in the water, Tom. What else do you want, man?
Well, I know from 13 years, years in the Army, the answer to at least 1/3 of all health issues is fresh socks. So maybe they're that school of thought. As long as we don't get her feet wet, we'll be okay.
They could have asked her if she wanted to bring extra socks.
Right. At least they wasn't trying to tell. Did you drink enough water? And here's some Motrin. That's what Army medics do.
Do you have ibuprofen with you in case this goes?
So basically, Captain Chad here is bowing out. He's not saying any. He's pleading the fifth there, I think. Rebecca Joe. Let's see. It might be wrong, but if you sign up to be an officer and you have to do the job, why I wouldn't and couldn't be an officer? Yeah, I mean, I get your point. I don't disagree with you. I just I know it's the same thing. I tend to think of military. Yeah, I put my name on a dotted line, signed up, took multiple oaths. They got you taking oaths all the time, by the way.
Right.
So, I did that. But at the same time, and what's funny is they'll take kids that are 18 years old and they'll explain to them, the basics and basic training about the law of land warfare and obeying legal orders. Well, now, how is a 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old going to have any clue what a legal order is? Basically, it comes down to, and this is what they don't ever spell out in great detail, is it comes down to a moral code. If you believe this is just an immoral thing for you to be ordered, but they can't really say it that way because you may be doing something that's actually legal that is just immoral to you. So they don't come out and say it that way either.
Well,
But
you have to
they will-
understand that legal and illegal has no comparison to moral and immoral. One is not exactly the same as the other. What is legal is not necessarily moral, and what is illegal is not necessarily immoral.
Absolutely. Sometimes they overlap. We hope they overlap a lot, but I think the further we go into this modern society that we referred to earlier, Terry, the less they overlap.
I
To
think.
expand on this,
Do you think we can blame some of this on parents? And the reason I say that is because when that kid's 18 and he joins the military and they completely strip him of his morals, apparently it wasn't that hard, meaning that he was never taught those morals to start with, he or she.
well, yeah, I mean, the raising of a kid, I don't care what the circumstances are, ultimately fall on the parents. Um, some are better at it than others, even if they have great hearts and are doing their best. And every kid is a different set
Did you
of.
hear that, Kyle? That was one of those bless their heart moments.
Yeah. We could take this whole conversation probably in that direction. I mean, morals come down to what you're taught. We learn what we see, and we recreate and reenact, and we're creatures of habit based on what we believe to be true or false or right or wrong. I just find it hard to believe that that anyone in that position would, again, morally believe that arresting an elderly woman for $77 an unpaid trash bill is morally okay. Now, again, it comes back to we're not really questioning whether it was moral, because that obviously wasn't a concern of theirs. It was, they were doing their job regardless of what they believed to be morally right or wrong. But it
Well, I do agree that it is a moral thing to pay your bills. I'm not
sure.
saying that there should not have been consequences. I'm not saying that at all. So I hope everybody understands that. I'm not saying that this lady was in the right. But what I'm saying, though, is making her a criminal over it is absolutely ridiculous. And anyone who doesn't agree with that, I don't know what to tell you. Good luck to you in life.
Agreed.
Well,
And if I
well, like
said,
go ahead.
I was just saying, if I said anything that was not the message I was trying to convey either. I agree. I mean, morally, yes, pay your bills, 100%. And again, it obviously didn't come down to a question of morals. They were being yes men. Don't pick up her trash. How about that? If she didn't pay
Right,
her bill,
right. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
that's scary. But yeah, if she didn't pay her trash bill, don't pick up her trash. Maybe come take the trash cans, and don't bring them back. Until she decides to start paying her bill.
Or just start bringing her trash back. Bring back about $75 worth, how many ever weeks that were, 5 bags a week. Bring it back to her and set it on the porch. I mean, there's ways to handle it. And it might seem ridiculous, but it's a hell of a lot better than putting her in cuffs and taking her to jail and making her an actual criminal. Now she's 80-some years old, probably never been in trouble in her life. Now she got a criminal record.
And I was just getting ready to say that I'm curious to know what her life was like leading up to that. If she'd ever had so much as a parking ticket or speeding ticket, and we have no way of knowing that really, unless we have a PI or something looking into this whole case. But my guess is if that was the biggest thing they could find on to arrest her at 82 years old, she'd probably never done anything criminally wrong. And now,
Right.
like you said, they're making her a criminal as an elderly woman for an so.
And I'm trying to remember, what is it when there's a crime and then there's you make it worse on yourself by certain additives, like having something of deadly weapon on you at the time you committed it. Can't think of that phrase, that word they associate that makes there's the core crime, and then you make it worse by this and that, and you add on to it. I can't remember what that's called. In the opposite direction, it's called matters of mitigation and extenuation. So in other words, yes, you did it, but there's matters that mitigate how much you should be punished. There's matters of extenuation that say, well, yeah, you did it, but as in you were provoked, maybe it can be a matter of extenuation. But I can't think of the opposite when it like makes you more guilty because you did these things. Anyways, I think that's what we're doing here. And I knew we'd do that, and that's totally cool. But one thing I want to say, the core issue here is criminalizing not paying a bill. That's the core. I don't care if she was, I mean, I do care. If that was a 20-year-old that already had a bunch of run-ins with the law, they shouldn't be arrested for a garbage bill.
Right. Well, if you remember correctly, way back when, like the Jews had the year of Jubilee. Every 7 years, all debts were forgiven. You know why? Because it's a ridiculous idea to carry on through a lifetime with silly little debts. That's why they did it. Everybody was happy. Everybody had what they needed. Nobody was wanting anything, and all their roads were fixed. And yet we sit here today acting like that's not possible.
Right. Yeah, we definitely don't live in a world that's based on that concept. I've thought about that a lot too.
Now,
Tone's here. Go ahead, Kyle.
I'm sorry, and I don't know this, but you speaking on that, Terry, is now with bankruptcy and stuff. Is that where the 7 years for bankruptcy and stuff comes from? Maybe, do you know that?
Yeah, they're based on those laws, But I tell you what, if you want the best credit rating in the world, you file for bankruptcy, and within a year of that bankruptcy, you'll have every credit offer that you can get. Why? Because all the debt companies know now they can own your ass again
for 7 years. Yeah.
I was curious. I did not know that, and after hearing you say that, I thought that's interesting. 7 years.
Terry, if I remember right, the year of Jubilee was 7 sets of 7, so I think it was every 49 years it was all forgiven.
Is that how it works?
I'm pretty sure it was, because the Bible tells you not to go into debt for more than 7 years. And if I remember correctly, now I'm not a scholar in these terms, but I'm pretty sure it tells you or advises you don't go into debt more than 7 years. And then, so there's a bunch of things in.
Of course, it also says that usury is sin. In other words, if somebody asks you for $5 and you ask for so much as a penny beyond that, when they return it, that is a bad thing. You're not supposed to do that.
Well, let's put all the banks in jail.
The bank should be in jail, man. See, here's a funny thing, and I hate to get way off topic, but people think that when you go to a bank for a loan, they walk into the vault and out of their pockets, they pull your loan amount and reach it to you. But that's not actually how it works at all. When you sign that piece of paper becomes an instrument and they deposit it as cash, meaning that your signature was worth that $5,000 that they just loaned you. Now, not only do they want the $5,000 you just gave them, they want interest on that. Talk about evil.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, like you said, that is an entirely different topic. Sovereign should be here for that one, right?
Right. And remember, guys, don't pay me. Don't pay me. No, never mind. I'm just a dumbass hillbilly that lives on a muddy hillside. Please, dear God, do your own research and make your own educated decisions. Don't listen to me.
Tone said there a few minutes ago, to expand on this further, police officers is to enforce the law as it has been made, not make it themselves. We don't live in the world of Judge Dredd where law enforcement officer is also the whole penal system. Absolutely agreed. And we didn't say I know you weren't here in the beginning, Tones, but we specifically said the problem with this specific set of law enforcement officers is that they should have all rebelled against this. Said we're not enforcing this. Mayor, city councilman, you can go out and put handcuffs on little old ladies. We ain't doing it because this is not a criminal thing. And you know what? That happens. I mean, that kind of stuff has happened even here locally. I'm sure you, Kyle, and Terry have heard, through your own grapevines of law enforcement officers that have basically said, we're not doing this kind of thing. I mean, we even had, and we could get into a whole set of stuff that I'm not going to get into, but we had a local police chief and his entire police force quit in a small town recently over disagreements with town council and what they wanted enforced. Now, I heard different versions of what the truth was, and I didn't dive into it. That's why I don't want to get into the details of it here. But
it was enough for every one of them to walk off the job, though, so it must have been major.
Correct. And one that I do know a little bit more of the details on is that mayor that we had up in Chesapeake there a few years ago that thought because he was the mayor now, he would just drive around in his personal owned vehicle and pull people over and write them traffic tickets. And he would pull people over and call the chief of police and say, "Come up here and write this guy a ticket for me." Yeah, he became Judge Dredd. That's what he was doing.
It
Not,
went beyond
not understanding the difference there.
He tried to arrest people. It went beyond tickets. He was in the process of basically making arrests.
Well, I tell you what, I hope and pray that some city official who does not wear a badge doesn't try to arrest me, because it's not going to go down very well. I'm pretty sure it won't. I consider that kidnapping and a crime, and I will fight accordingly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know why somebody doesn't own Chesapeake after all that, but yeah, Lisa said, yeah, Chesapeake was a mess. It absolutely was. So the point is, he was saying that, hey, when they sign on a dotted line to take the job, they agree to enforce the law as it is. I agree, but there comes a point where you
Hey,
got to
Tom.
say, no, not on this.
Tones is leaving the room. I just wanted to say goodbye to Tones. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you checking out the channel. Thank you very much. You have a happy holiday,
Absolutely.
sir.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I don't know you, but thank you for the comments. It was good stuff.
As a matter
Right.
of fact, Tom, many months ago, I was interviewed on Keeping It Criminal channel, Kick, if you know Kick. Legicator talks about Kick a lot, Keeping It Criminal.
No, I haven't.
Anyway,
I haven't heard of that yet.
Tones overthinks it was on there, and they had an interview with me to decide whether or not I was a real auditor. It's been months ago. You'll find it on the Keeping It Criminal channel, but that's how I met Tones.
To see if you were really one, huh? So
Right.
is that like the Pope of the Auditors channel or something?
Well, the thing is it's another one of those channels that talk about what they call frauditors all the time. It's people who really hate people like me. And the thing that like turned that whole that whole community on its head was me, because when they discovered me, I am so not like what everybody else is when they call themselves auditor. And now I just found out today. Well, I found out a while back, but I just seen it today. Hezekiah, the Frauditor Destroyer, on his channel, he had, like the Magic the Gathering trading card games that they sit around and play. I have my own trading card now. It is an Epic Hero card, and I am the gold standard of what auditing should be according to his card game.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
That sounds like it's worth way more than a Golden Globe or an Oscar, if you ask me.
I know, right? Now I have to buy the whole set because I have to have my own card. How can I not?
Can we get it at Walmart?
No, but you can email Hezekiah. He'll send you the information. He actually has them printed, and I believe sends them out himself. So
good deal.
Now, are they just trading cards, or can I actually play a game with them too?
I would assume that I think they have like the point scoring system on them, just like those trading card games. So I'm pretty sure that if you tried, I'm sure you could play a game with them. I got to be honest, I am a nerd, but I'm such an old nerd that we didn't have trading card games when I was a kid. So I've never like really gotten into it. So I'm like an out of touch nerd. But yeah, to have my own card, I'm going to have to buy the set, man. I'm going to have to see how this works because it's just too good to be true. I never thought that I would be important enough in the world to have my own trading card. Who would have thunk it?
So,
very cool.
Hey, Terry, me and Chad have talked offline a few times about just ideas that have been running through my head since I started the channel up, and so I mentioned to him how actually getting together and seated in the same location physically and doing one of these panels would be cool too. Kind of like
that
they do.
Would be awesome.
Yeah. So what would be cool is if we played the game while we were live streaming.
Right. Hey, maybe we'll try that.
Fun. It would be basically live streaming poker night or something. Basically, is what it would be like. That's
well, we'll just call it Nerd Night.
Nerd Night.
There you go.
Nerd Night. We'll sip some whiskey, smoke some cigars, and get drunk and play a card game. What do you think?
I'm the single guy. As you noticed, I'm in the house smoking cigars. Kyle is not. I'm the single guy. I can smoke a cigar in the house anytime I want. Damn it. So yeah, we could do that.
House.
Well, I have to admit, Della kind of spoils me. She lets me do whatever the hell I want. We don't have any children, so it's just me and her. And she, bless her heart, she puts up with a lot. So here's another one of bless her heart moments, Kyle. But it's on me this time because she does have to put up with a lot. I'm not an easy guy.
She doesn't have a single hot sister, does she?
What's that?
Go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say, but you didn't say anything negative about her. So bless your heart moment.
Well, I was blessing her heart for me. I was talking the negative about
Yeah.
me. That's what I meant. It's a bless your heart moment, but I had to be honest, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that was funny. That knocked me off a little
Well,
bit there.
just know that I'll always be honest, even if it hurts your feelings, not because I desire to hurt you, but because at the end of the day, I want you to know that that among all, I was honest with you, which means that when I have to tell the truth on myself and be honest, I have no choice. Sometimes I have to tell you how bad I am too, because I'm not this great, perfect, wonderful guy that some people see on YouTube. I am just that hillbilly on a muddy hillside. I am just that guy.
What,
Well,
what,
here's to the
yeah. Here's the so once again tonight, I personally am being sponsored by George Dickel, bottled in bond.
at this
I
point,
love-
I'm definitely
love the
sponsored by Jack Daniels Bonded.
There you go. The channel is not sponsored whatsoever by anybody, but I personally am. So if you get,
Coffee by Walmart.
oh, I know what I was going to say. You said something about people see you're not this wonderful guy or something, or rather you said about that people see on YouTube, and I'm like, but Terry, I never see you. See your logo.
Well,
You're-
it screws so bad with my connection. I can do it on the phone when I'm out, but here at the house for some reason it robots you guys really bad if I have my camera going. So I just turn the camera
Gotcha.
off to make it easier on the internet.
You're kind of like what was it? If I remember the movie HAL 2000 from Space Odyssey, whenever
Well,
it
just
would, whenever
remember-
it would speak, it would pulse like that.
Right, well, I have a face for radio, you know, so it's much better if the tiger does the talking. You know, he looks much better than I do. I'll just throw that out there.
He does. That's a hell of a logo, by the way. I see the tiger for Ironton. I see IA for you. You got it resembling a badge a little bit, which is ironically cool. And it's lens
Actually,
in the middle.
Tom, actually, the IA, the reason I had it made really big like that is because originally I thought these police officers were going to be my enemies. I truly did. I thought it was going to be like every other auditor. I thought I was going to have to fight with them. And so I made the IA real big because I know that when police see IA, they see internal affairs. They don't see Ironton Auditor. And that's why the IA was out there, because I kind of consider myself civilian in internal affairs. I'm looking into things that maybe your higher ups don't care to look into. Maybe they'll sweep under the rug. Me, I don't sweep as well. I jerk the rug up and throw it out and see what's under it.
Technically speaking, I think you're external investigations, right?
Something like that. But the E didn't work with Ironton Auditor, you know.
Yeah, right. I hear you. Yeah, that doesn't flow very well at all. So, can somebody tell me? It seems like this Nicody. Am I saying it right? Is somebody you guys are familiar with? If someone wouldn't mind introducing me.
Yes, Nicody is in my chat almost every stream that I do. Her, Lisa, and quite a few others that you've seen in here tonight.
Okay, great. So he's one of your people. Well, I appreciate. And you say that Nicody? Is that how he says it, or you say it?
I assume that's how it's pronounced, and I think that it is a female. I could be wrong, but I think it's a female. So sometimes I screw that up, so please forgive me, Nicody, if I'm not correct.
I unfortunately spent, well, I don't know if unfortunately is the right word. I spent 3 years in Japan, so when I see that, it just looked like a guy name, which I don't know Japanese either. Who knows? I don't know. I have no clue.
The only reason I can assume such is because of certain comments that have been made over months on my channel. You know, after a while, you see the way they talk. They talk like a lady or they talk like a man. Some of them talk like both, and you're never exactly sure. You know, but I do my best.
2022.
That's a bless their
I mean,
heart.
after all, it is just a name on a screen. You know, we do our very best with what we're given. Oh, looky there! I actually come to one honest. I'm right this time. That's great.
Good. No, it's because of you and because of Captain Chad, most of the people that have come to watch my stuff have been because of you guys, and I really appreciate your guys' support and helping me get off the ground with whatever it is I end up doing here. And so anybody that comes from your community to hang out here, no matter which side of the spectrum they're on, I really appreciate it. I appreciate the support, and obviously any comments or anything is welcome too, because when you do live stream, this is the thing I've learned because of Captain Chad and his kicking me in the booty to get this channel up and going, is when I did a YouTube channel before, I didn't do live streams. I only did pre-recorded and edited stuff. So I didn't do this panel discussion hangout kind of thing. And it's just it's
a whole different ball game, isn't it?
It is. It's a whole different ballgame because you're actually wanting to get to know these people. And that's why, before when I would do live streams with Chad, I didn't even look at the comments. I mean, I didn't see not that I just didn't value them. To me, it was like, if you're doing a live show, you don't constantly look back in the audience and say, who wants to talk? So I kind of had the wrong paradigm in my head. And now I'm sort of picking up on it to grab the value and how this works for the people that show up and give you their time as well as yourself.
Right.
So when this person showed up and obviously you guys knew them, I'm like, okay, I want to know this person too. So
I posted it in my community tab right before I came on. I posted it in my community tab, hoping that most people that would normally catch me live stream, because the weather's supposed to turn bad tonight, I decided to stay home just to be safe. And if it's okay, I'll go out tomorrow night. But I posted it in my community tab that I would be here live at 8:30. So that way, if anybody was looking for me, they'll see that post and maybe they'll join us here.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, and I've been on live streams, and I guess you could call them panels on Leducators, where there was no point. It was just to hang out and chat, and that's cool. Because when Chad first said, "Hey, I'm going to have a live stream tonight. You want to be on?" and I'm like, sure. What's the topic? And he goes, "No topic. We're just hanging out." And I was very puzzled at the time, and I get it now, totally get it now. But at the time, it was a foreign idea, and I'm like, okay, man, I'll be on your live stream, whatever you want from me.
Some of those channels out there put on a show. You know what I mean? They have a character, or at least to a certain extent, they have a character. And a lot of these guys have so many people in their chat, it is impossible for them to be able to talk to each individual. There's no way. It flies by so quick you can't even read it. But the smaller channels here, what I found is, if you want your channel to be really, really exceptional, you need your core. You always have your core subscribers. There'll always be people in and out, of course, because that's how it works. But you'll always have your core that follows you everywhere. And that core unit, if you get close to them before you ever become big, guess what? They'll always be there. And besides, your chat, man, they can tell you things that you didn't know while you're sitting here saying, I don't really know the word for that. You'd be amazed if you're looking at your chat. 5 people have already put it in out there for you. Lisa's like that. Yep. Lisa is my fact finder. A lot of times if I say something, Lisa's right on it. She's very good about fact checking and finding things out. All of my mods are really good about throwing links out. If other channels come in to visit, I'll mention it and they'll go grab the link and throw it in there. So your chat can be some of the most useful to help you build your channel. They are absolutely wonderful at it. Not to mention, they're just great people to hang out with and talk to.
I also understand the concept now that I've heard over the years of meetups.
Right.
Especially the locals saying, hey, for instance, here I could say, going to be up to B-Dubs on Thursday night between 8 and 10. You want to come meet me? I'll be up there, kind of deal. I kind of didn't get that before. So for those of you that are still hanging around here listening, just to let you know, I'm new to this version of YouTubing and really, really kind of loving it and seeing the value, and the experience has given me more ideas for content. Most of what I've done in the past, Kyle can tell you this, I kind of don't do, when I get on my tangents, I'm not really it's not really a conversation, is it, Kyle? It's a lecture.
It's information, Tommy.
I kind of flip into college professor mode often when I get on my stuff, when I'm on my specific wheelhouses. And kind of like when I said you preached good there earlier, Terry, I kind of do that. Except you had a little bit of that. You had a little bit of that preacher sound to you when you.
I actually am an ordained pastor, and for a long time, I have to be honest, as crazy and embarrassed as I am by it, I was going to blow Joel Osteen plumb out of the water. All those TV preachers that you see today, they were not going to be able to hold a candle to someone as charismatic as I am, and I was well on my way. Unfortunately, as I learned and studied from these guys, I found out that they weren't quite where they needed to be, and that would put me in a place where I didn't want to be. But I did become ordained in order to follow such a path.
Interesting. Well, then I see where I heard that. Then I heard the influence. Now I know the facts. Lisa says, do I live here in Larry County? I not only live in Larry County, I live in Mullet Township. So,
we have got to get together sometime. I want to do one of those meetups, Tom.
Yeah, we need to do that. As a matter of fact, and you don't have to answer me here, but I was actually ran through my head the other day. I thought it would be cool to do a ride along with you when you're doing your thing, man. If you
Oh
ever
man,
have any,
you're more than welcome. Anybody is. There's a few people out there among my chat and the locals here in Ironton that have talked about it. And yes, it's always open. We'll schedule a day, we'll schedule a time, and we'll go chase the police around. I can't promise we'll find any. If we don't, we'll just go to the police station and harass them. But we'll find some cherries and berries somewhere, even if we have to be the ones they turn them on for.
no, wait a minute, I don't want on that ride
You
along.
bring you bring some of that whiskey, and I'll make it happen, sir.
Oh my God. No, I don't. No, Nicody, if you go to Facebook and you look up Larry County on Facebook and you find it's a satire page, it's a satire about the county we live in here. I don't know if that's where you're at or not. If you're in Lawrence County, Ohio, obviously short for Lawrence is Larry. So when they did the satire page, they called it Larry County. And it is hilarious. It is when it first came out. I don't know. Were you doing the YouTube thing back when Larry County first came out, Terry?
I have no idea when that came out. I've been on for about 7 or 8 months, as long as my YouTube channel.
Okay, well, no, it was a few years ago. It was probably at least 3 years ago, I believe, when it came out. That sound about right, Kyle? Because I know we talked about it a lot when it first popped out.
Yeah, it was probably 3 years ago.
I stayed under my rock for like the last 10 or 15 years, man. I didn't get on Facebook.
Dude.
I had no Facebook account. I had no home telephone. I had no cell phone. I did have internet service and email. If you wanted to contact me, that was the only way to do it besides knocking on my door. So about 8 months ago, I come out from under my rock and became Ironton Auditor.
I get it. So Larry County is a satire page. It's making fun of us. You know, it's one of us making fun of us, and it's so hilarious. But here's the point. If you take the silhouette, the shape of Lawrence County, and you put a mullet on it, that's what the logo of the Larry County page is. And I find the logo one of the most hilarious parts of the whole page. So that's why there is no mullet township. I just made that up.
I used to have a mullet. Embarrassing it is, but I used to have a mullet.
If I could grow,
grade school. It was a while ago. Me and Kyle go to the same barber.
Yeah, he's a real nice guy.
And we got 10 people. Hey, I appreciate every one of you. Thank you guys very much.
It was the bald comments. Is what people started listening.
Hashtag bald, and it brought in all the
no mullets. No mullets.
See, I finally just went and got clippers and cut my own. That way I don't have to pay someone else to do it. And I have to be honest, I wish I would go bald and then I wouldn't have to deal with those clippers either. I just wouldn't have to do anything. I like no maintenance. It's great for me.
Well, I'm not that kind of bald. I still got to maintain it. Otherwise, I'm just Mr. Thin Hair. So I actually use more shampoo and more razors now than I ever did before. So it's not low maintenance. It's actually kind of high maintenance. But
I'd probably just wear a hat, man, because like I said, I'm cheap and easy. I just like it that way.
I get it.
Cody's asking me if I was Terry Dirt at one time. Yes, I was about as close to Joe as any person could get. As a matter of fact, I think he's a distant cousin if I look it up.
Terry Dirt. That's pretty funny. Smash that like button. Yeah, if anybody's here and you haven't yet, if you could hit the like button, I sure would appreciate it. Hit subscribe if you haven't. Spread the word, tell the tale, and hit the notification so you can find out when I'm doing stuff in the future. The RAM seems to have solved about 75% of my issues, I noticed.
You're sounding great. Look at Lisa's comment down there. That one's for you, sir.
Oh, let's see here. I'll put it up here where we can all read it. Tom, if you ride with Terry, you need to clean the windshield and keep up with chat. Eugene sucks at both. Okay, I didn't know there was duties that comes with this, but I'll be all over it. That would be fun. That would be definitely be fun.
Lisa's kind of like the school teacher of the bunch. She's the one who delegates authority and tells you how bad you suck when you don't do it right.
Okay, so basically, I got eraser cleaning duty. That's what. I will definitely try to remember that, and if I don't, I'll have him pull. Oops. If I don't, then I'll have him pull over at a store, or whatever, and I'll get some Windex and a squeegee or something.
I actually have paper towels and cleaner right inside the car. We can do that anywhere, man. As a matter of fact, I'll just strap you to the hood. You can keep it clean while we're driving down the road if you want.
Don't let him pull. He's not good with cleaning.
Hey, now, I'm not good with, I'm not good with going from. I'm kind of like, what is it, Newton's second law of motion? Things that are at rest tend to stay at rest. So as long as I'm not cleaning, yeah, it's not so great. But once I get cleaning, I'm not bad. Once I get cleaning, I'm not bad. But it does not fall under Newton's
Don't we
first
all
law.
say that as men?
Well, yeah, but there's certain parts I just don't do at all. But a window I can do.
I'll say
Window's not a problem. So
yes. So I'm going to just nod my head.
yeah, I know this is like a landmine field right here. Minefield. Um, let's see. Anybody else in there I don't know? No, I think Kelly Fitzpatrick. I remember you from a stream or two before. I appreciate you being here.
Hello, Kelly. How you doing?
And that's somebody you know as well that I'm still trying
Yes,
to learn.
always in my chat, and also somebody that I talk to occasionally on the back end. There are a lot of people they have my phone number, they have my email. We talk back and forth a lot. So I try to be really involved with my community and my chat.
So Kelly said, thought for this poor woman. Maybe she lost in court, couldn't pay, dirtbag trash company pressed it. Actually, I understand why you may think that, but the story says, and you missed this from earlier, and that's no problem saying it again, but the local town council or village or, excuse me, whatever level of government I didn't catch, but they actually made not paying your refuse collection bill a misdemeanor crime. So no, it's not a company. It's probably the trash company itself probably is the municipality is the issue here. And they wasn't going to get their money. And instead of going through the normal channels that an actual private company would have to go through, a private company would have to take you to court, get a judgment against you.
Civil court.
Civil court. Yeah, civil.
And
And even then they couldn't arrest you, to my knowledge. I mean, maybe I'm a little off on that. But the intersection of civil and criminal is fairly rare, not totally rare. Yeah, and this happened back in 2006, Kelly. Why this was released now in 2022, I'm guessing somebody was just going through archives of body cams and found this. Not sure. Like I said, I didn't dive into the details because since it was 2006, I didn't find it all that relevant. The details relevant. I found the overall concepts extremely relevant, but the details, like I told these guys, probably everybody on town council is gone now, or off to bigger and better levels of tyranny. And we got the law enforcement officers are probably all retired by now. So
Kelly agrees with us. She says those dirt bags need to be replaced, and I agree.
Yeah,
they need to be emptied out or something for sure. The swamp needs to be drained.
Right. This was since this was a small area. Let's say maybe this wasn't a swamp. Maybe this was a stagnant pond. Okay, that fell flat. No big deal.
Maybe we just need to pour some bleach in their water then.
I laughed on the inside.
Did you laugh on the inside? I always thought Johnny Carson was one of our best comedians we've ever had in the country, and I always thought his funniest moments was when his jokes didn't work. And I am not so good at turning bad into laughter. So whatever.
Well, speaking of Johnny Carson, I'll tell you a piece that I heard on his show when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Of course, I was not allowed to watch Johnny Carson at 7 or 8 years old, but I loved the show, and I would sneak out of bed every chance I got because I thought the man was hilarious. And he was talking one night about a specific person, and apparently these dirtbags we're talking about come from the same place. It's an island off the Pacific coast called Schiffer, 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 and that's how you know they have Schiffer brains.
Wow.
That was Johnny Carson original right there. I heard that. I was like 7 or 8 years old. I thought it was one of the funniest things I'd ever heard at the time.
So
I actually got in trouble and got a whipping and put to bed grounded for a week because I was up watching Johnny Carson. I laughed so hard I woke my dad up.
Oh, wow. That was some strict parenting, man.
Well, I wasn't supposed to be out of bed
Have you
watching
been
Johnny
wounded
Carson.
for life?
Man. What's that?
Okay, I got to look this up. I got to know if this is a real island.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually exist.
Well, I mean, it sounds like one of those jokes you make because it does, So I was just not found. So yeah, at least that spelling. So maybe I'll try it later. But look, you never know. That's a funny subject since we're kind of off into La La Land now. But if you ever look up crazy names of places, tons of them exist now. I've seen them on Facebook a lot lately. There'll be like a meme that says the most sexual names in each of the 50 states, and it'll have these double entendre names all across all 50 states, and it'll show the most according to whoever made the meme. But one of the things, as a historian, one of the great things and sad things at the same time, it's got some humor to it. It's also sad, but it is history, and it just sort of is what it is. Is when you look up all of the sorry, got distracted there. When you look up all the names, the hundreds and hundreds of names that had to be changed in between the end of slavery and the end of Jim Crow, it's pretty shocking.
I'd say there were a
read
bunch.
a lot of these. Yes, there were. Hold on, let me get you guys. I tell you what, discuss amongst yourselves. I'll be right back.
So how you doing this fine, wonderful evening, Kyle?
I'm good, Terry. You kind of just put us on the spot there, didn't he?
Well, you'll have that sometimes. He's lucky. I'm good at driving around empty streets and talking for 8.5, 9 hours at a time. So I think we can handle this. I don't think it'll be all that bad.
I'm gonna have to check out your show there, your stream.
Well, I tell you what, if you're looking for fun and excitement, I'm not your guy. But if you find it incredibly funny to hear a hillbilly rant a lot for no reason, hey, I'm your man. And I think Leducator's wanting a link, sir. If you could throw it out there to him, send it to him, or put it in the chat.
That's what I was doing, actually. That's
Oh,
why
awesome,
I can't.
awesome.
Listen, I got two ex-wives that'll tell you I cannot do two things at once well. So that's why I had to hand it off to you guys for about 20 seconds there. I couldn't figure out how to do the link and talk. It's just not my thing. So, but yeah, I got him a link. He should probably be popping up here in a minute.
If you ever desire to, you can copy it and just paste it right into your chat right there if you want. If somebody you don't want comes up, you just throw them out of the room. You don't have to have them up. That's all up to you.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Lisa says there is a Schiffer Island.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't try alternate spelling. I'll have to check that.
I told you she's my fact checker, man. I told you. See, I wasn't kidding.
Thanks, Lisa. So for anyone that wants to check it out, there we go. That's the correct spelling to Schiffer Island, where they do indeed have Schiffer brains. Okay, I got a laugh out of that. Okay, good.
How about this one? You know something Jonathan Winters can do that you can't? He can crap a winter's turd in the dead middle of summer, buddy. Try that one.
Wow. Yeah. So let me see if I can remember this joke. I read this yesterday, and I'm really bad at jokes, but it's a good one. So let me see if I can do it. So
hilarious.
This lady, hold on, let me bring in Cap Chad here. Hey, welcome.
What's going on, guys? How's everybody?
Hey, Chad. How are
Good. I'm about to tell a bad joke. You ready?
Oh, buddy, I'm a professional at your bad jokes. Let's hear
it. So, God, I hope I can remember it right. So this lady goes to a pharmacist, and she says, "I need some cyanide." And he says, "Cyanide? Why do you need cyanide?" And she says, "Well, I need to feed it to my husband." And he's like, "Whoa, lady, I can't give you cyanide. Are you crazy? That's against the law. I'd lose my license and probably go to prison." And she pulls a photograph of his wife with her husband out of her purse. And he says, "Oh, you didn't tell me you had a prescription."
Nice.
I got it. I remembered it.
That one I like. Cool. That was a good one.
Okay, yeah, that was actually pretty well played.
I just can't. I'm the type when I'm trying to remember those that I'll say it backwards. I'd be like saying "my wife with your husband," or and I like totally screw the joke up. That's the way I do it. So
I got how a bit ago we were talking about the women and the men idea. The difference between cleaning and whether or not men could do a certain thing based on whether or not they had a lady in the house and all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you a quick little joke that'll explain a lot. There was a guy who lived on a deserted island all by himself. And every day, 5 times a day for 50 years, he prayed for God to show up and build him a bridge to the mainland. And one day, after all that time and all those prayers, God got tired of listening to the guy, frankly, and showed up and said, "Look, man, I could build you a bridge, but I would have to harm the earth and use natural resources to do that. And I really don't want to do that. Can you think of anything at all that you would have in its place?" And the guy thought for a minute, and he said, "Yes, Lord, I want to be able to understand women." God immediately replied, "Would you like 2 or 4 lanes on your bridge, sir?"
Yeah. Okay, so
That's
I have
good.
to ask, and crew, I guess I kind of stepped into this late, but can you give me a quick rundown of the scenario that you guys were discussing earlier with the elderly lady?
Sure. The video, all you saw on the video was body cam of law enforcement knocking on a door. An old lady answers. She's 82 years old. 82-year-old appeared to be a black lady in Alabama. This is a 2006 body cam, is what the article said that I read. And why the body cam footage is coming out now, I didn't research, don't know. But anyways, so they tell her they have a warrant for her arrest, and she's like, "Oh my lands, what in the world for?" kind of thing, you know. And he says, "Well, you owe $77 on your trash bill." Yeah, and we're not joking here. $77 on your trash bill. And he says, we gotta arrest you. And she goes, "You're gonna handcuff me?" And then she makes a comment, something to the effect of, "You ought to be ashamed arresting 82-year-old people." And he says, "Well, you know, it's the law, ma'am, and I got to do it." And he puts handcuffs on her in the front, and they lead her out. And I let the video play all through them leading her out, being gentle and as sweet as they could be to her in their language and deportment, so to speak. And she even almost steps into some water puddle, and they help rescue her out of the water puddle so her feet don't get wet. And they put her in the car. And she asks, what can she do? And he says, "Well, it's going to be $258 to keep from going to jail." And she mentions that her daughter normally pays the bill, and law enforcement says, "Well, she really screwed you on this one, you know." And so, anyways, that was about as far as I let the video go. And then I mentioned that in the article that accompanied where I found the video, it said that the local municipality governing body, whatever that is, township council, city council, whatever, town, county, whatever, they had made the statute at the time said failure to pay for refuse collection was a misdemeanor, and she was 3 months behind, so they were sent to arrest her. And so the issues we discussed, I think the basic core was, why in the hell do you make a failure to pay a bill, no matter the amount, a crime versus a civil court matter? Was the thing that stuck out the most to me. Then when you add on layers of that's what they're concerned about instead of the other crime, you add on the layers of this is an 82-year-old woman. You add on the layer of it's only $77. You add all those other layers on it, and the amount of insanity just goes up and up and up. So I think you're pretty much caught up.
Okay.
I had a question for you, Captain. You didn't hear me while you were in the chat, and right after we watched that video, I was questioning you about that. If all of a sudden the city of Ironton made not collect or not paying for your trash a crime, and you were sent out to arrest an 82-year-old woman, my question is, would you do it, or would you risk your job not to do it?
Well, I actually did hear you, Terry. I put in the chat, well, I would beat her up first. I mean, obviously.
I didn't see that.
But well, I would like to chime in on that, Tom, and just kind of give you my rundown if I would be allowed. I'll tell you, I've got several things that kind of bother me about the overall totality of it. First of all, yes, it's probably a policy. Let me clarify. I'm going to go ahead and play the devil's advocate for a minute. It probably is a policy for that department to say that everybody is to be restrained in the car. And these officers were probably doing what they thought was the policy according to their executive administration there in the city or county or wherever they were working at. However, allow me to say this. I see so many things wrong with all of this for every angle, in my opinion. But in my opinion, nobody really cares about. But I'm going to tell you anyway because I got the mic.
We do.
Well, first of all, if any of my men ever arrested an 80-some-year-old lady, I would probably my blood pressure would be extremely elevated if they can't explain to me what violent felony this woman just committed. And even if they did, I would certainly probably lose my job and be arrested for beating up my men if they were to handcuff an elderly lady like that. I think that's beyond police work to me. To me, that's just kind of common sense. You're not going to take a chance on hurting this lady. And furthermore, what troubles me the most, and I don't know if you guys touched on this, but you do realize that this was a warrant service, correct? That's what you're telling me. This was actually executing a warrant, a court warrant.
Correct.
So let's back up and realize that these guys didn't just run into this lady at the grocery store and realize, oh, that's Mrs. Johnson. She's got a warrant. I need to take her. They actually put their friggin' effort into driving to her house to go arrest this violent criminal. That's what bothers me. If I knew that my men went on a warrant hunt for such petty shit, and excuse my language, but if I was to know that, I would come unglued. I would be beyond upset. First of all, and this is what really bugs me is, what the world is this city council doing passing this to be a law for the garbage bill to be criminalized? That's unconstitutional as hell. I mean, you're blatantly making a public utility. Well, you're going to pay us, or we're going to. It's like racketeering. You better make sure we're going to come and beat you up. I mean, it's like,
that's right. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just crazy to me. So that's just asinine in its own.
Mafia tactics.
And I'll tell you this, in my opinion, you guys know I'm no lawyer, and I don't pretend to be, but I'm guessing if a really ambitious young lawyer in what state was this?
Alabama.
If a litigator in Alabama would have been ambitious enough to take this on and take this all the way to state Supreme Court and maybe even the United States Supreme Court, I would say the city would have probably been pretty unhappy with the outcome. Because that's outrageous to me, to think that they put that much effort into that. And I'm not even talking about the officers. The officers were careless and stupid, and they probably just didn't use their head. But these people that were elected in the position to actually make these laws, that's embarrassing, and it's ridiculous. And if that's the kind of people that's been granted power by the citizens of that community, there needs to be a complete revamping of that municipality, and maybe a Supreme Court decision on that, and maybe the state attorney general's office or somebody to step in and say, you can't do that. That's just stupid.
On where would the line be drawn, Cap? Because that actually is a crime. In order to make that a crime, I mean, if it's unconstitutional and it's against the law, it is a crime. Could you, as a peace officer, arrest them?
Well, here's the thing: is a lot of the problem is a lot of people, and everybody probably in the chat, myself and everybody on the panel, know that there's a lot of gray. That's why we have lawyers. We have lawyers to be able to debate what truly is constitutional and what is not. And we have to trust that our legislature is smart enough to be able to pass laws that would go in line with constitutional values. But the problem is we don't. Now, the problem is that peace officers, if they're acting reasonably, which by definition in good faith, they were acting on a court warrant, they were acting reasonable by the outside looking in.
I'm sorry, Cap. I have to interrupt real quick.
Sure.
Real quick. I've got to take a very important phone call. Tom, please give me a few minutes.
Hey, no problem. You do what you got to do, man.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
So that would be my thing is were the officers acting reasonable on executing the warrant? Certainly. Was it silliness? Yes. Was it embarrassing at a personal level for manhood, in my opinion? Yes. And I would be really apt to probably take the ass chewing and saying, no, I'm not going to arrest them, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to command my men to do so either.
Right.
Because that to me is craziness.
Were you in here when I mentioned that we even had a local police force where the police chief and all the officers resigned over disagreeing with town council? Were you in here when I mentioned that? Yeah, so I mean, it's not unheard of for people in your position, the enforcement officer, to say to the executive branch, so to speak, no, not going to do it, and therefore, we're out of here. And especially when you're going from, I mean, to me, it's even easier to look at these small town Alabama cops and say you could likely get another job somewhere else nearby. You didn't, this was not the kind of thing that you should just go along with without thinking or using your own sense of judgment here. But like I said, the root thing that stands out to me the most is them making something that's obviously civil into a
Sure.
crime. That's the
Right.
craziest part. And that's where, like you said, that's where you go to legislature and you go through the proper channels that are already there, as opposed to, Ironton Auditor mentioned, being unconstitutional is a crime. Therefore, could you arrest them? And that's why, no, we'd have everybody arresting everybody if we just used our own private
Well,
judgment on that
that's
kind of level.
and that's why I brought up the reason why we have lawyers by definition is to be able to interpret and make legal opinions on what is in fact legal and what is not. If the regular everyday lay person were to make those decisions, then like you said, we would have chaos. And that's not practical. The practical way, in my opinion, to do this. I mean, I could say this from my personal standpoint. If I would have been in those shoes, I certainly would not have made an arrest, and I would not have acted that way. And if I was forced to arrest a lady, and I have actually had to arrest some people that are up in age a little bit based on extreme circumstances, like domestics and stuff, and you kind of, God love their heart. I mean, you kind of chuckle about it because it's not really what we know as a violent thing, but by statute of law and by the fact that these people really are scared, I have to make an arrest. Now, when I say arrest, to make an arrest does not mean to commit to jail. Make an arrest means to remove the liberty, which means that I may take the person with me. But what we've done in the past is take them to the car and sit down for a minute and say, hey, can you call your daughter or somebody to come and get you type thing, because I'm not going to put you in handcuffs. I'm not going to take you to jail. So, and that's kind of probably a more logical way to handle something like that. But the problem that I see, Tom, is and I think this is probably a lot more common than we even know, is some of these really small municipalities and governments, they kind of have that my for and no more. And it's almost like they kind of get away with creating, like I said, almost like racketeering, type bullying laws and stuff like that, to be able to say, oh, well, you've got to do it if you're going to be in this town. And because they are so small, it kind of goes under the radar and nobody's really putting up a fight to challenge it to a state level or even a United States Supreme Court level if it keeps pushing. But I think that would be something that would be shot down immediately at the state level if it was challenged, probably at the county court level if it was challenged.
I wouldn't doubt that you're right. And like I said, it was 2006, and I didn't go into researching all the background behind it because I thought the broader issues were more interesting to talk about than getting into the weeds about the details of what literally happened in 2006.
Sure.
But now I'm kind of curious about some of the details now that we've talked about it, so I may have to go back and read a little more. But yeah, I mean, probably all the town council's gone by now, and the cops are all retired. This was 16 years ago.
Right.
Was that right? Yeah, 16 years ago. But I got, while you were talking, it ran through my head. She probably had a great case. Emotional, 82 years old, getting arrested, maybe some emotional trauma there, and some. She may have been able to, if she did, get a decent little settlement plus fix the law. Here's the deal. Here's the other problem with small towns. One of the town councilmen or one of the law enforcement officers may have been her landlord.
Right.
And you're thinking, wait a minute. In her mind, I'm saying. Not to mention, this is an 82-year-old black lady in Alabama.
Right.
I'm not trying to say there was any racism involved in 2006.
Sure.
Not at all. But she grew up in a time where that was an absolute fact, with a different set of laws for her than people with different skin color. And so her paradigm in her mind was probably entirely different than you and I would wish it to be. I would like, if it was my mom, I'd be like, they did what? I'd be downtown getting an attorney. I'd find somebody to do what we can do. But, that's not her world, likely. If we want to generalize here and just use a little history.
Right. Sadly, yeah, but
what's that, Kyle?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's right. And I was going to say one thing I guess we haven't really talked about either was one thing to consider is 16 years ago, this woman, if she was 82 at the time of this incident, this arrest, she may very well be deceased or life takes its toll, maybe dementia or whatever it may be. So it's unfortunate that it's just now, I guess, kind of surfacing because we really don't know the circumstance of her life at this point either.
Absolutely.
And one thing, I know you're getting ready to say something there, Chad, and I want to let you do that. You got a lot of great stuff to say. Have you ever, in your experience in law enforcement, especially to the point where you are, as captain now, have you heard of other things like this? Whether it be, in somewhere distant, states away, or even local, or anything similar to this as being a regular thing, or even semi-common practice anywhere?
I have not to this level, obviously. To the trash bill is a little bit outrageous. But yeah, I have. And I'll give you an example. And this is one that we probably don't really put into to context. But let's think about this for a minute. And this is at a state level, and this is fair to say that this is national. Now, it's exercised at a state level, but this is something I would say commonly is within all 50 states. Let me ask you a question. If you go out and you shoot a deer to provide for your family any time of year on your private property, Tom, and you shoot a deer, the state is going to say, that's our property that you harvested, and we're going to fine you or maybe arrest you and take your guns. Is that not correct?
It's the king's deer. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now
now I'm not an expert on. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's put this in context for a second. Now, this is where I'm going with this. The same can't be said when that deer crosses the road and runs into your car. All of a sudden, the state sets back and says, that's not our fault."
Right.
Right. I mean, is that not a double standard? Now, here's my thing: is how is something that's on my private property when I harvest it, and it's a natural resource, and I harvest it on my private property. Now, I mean, I'm going on a soapbox here, and I don't mean to, but I'm giving a comparison. That's a prime example of government kind of stepping over, going, wait. Now, I get it. I understand about conservation. I understand that the funds are used for a reason, and if we don't regulate that type of stuff, we wouldn't have those opportunities to enjoy the hunting and fishing and so on and so forth. But to think about the extent of some of the punishment, if you're on your property, now granted, if you go off into public property, you go on your neighbor's property or whatever, and you're shooting deer or turkey or whatever it may be, I can understand that. But the guy that's out here that pops a buck or a doe because he wants to put meat in his freezer on his own private property to feed his family is not a criminal, in my opinion.
Right. No, I agree.
Agreed.
To me, criminalizing that is disgusting, and that's another example of what I'm talking about. And I'll tell you why I spoke of that, Kyle, and I'll get back to your point in a second. I'm sorry, I kind of got distracted there, but
no, you're good, buddy.
My wife watches that. The show with the game wardens in Maine and Texas, and I'm talking about, they go around and do the thing or whatever. I know somebody in the chat probably knows what it is, but anyway, it's like a cop show, but it's about game wardens. And these guys get on there and they go around and the level that they put into this, like, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, the state law says that this redfish has to be 13 inches long, and you're only allowed to have 16 of them, and this guy has 17 of them, and that 17th one is 12 inches and 3/4 inches long, and so we're gonna have to write him a ticket and take his fishing. I'm like, are you serious? Like, my gosh, like, you talk about making mountains out of molehills. Gosh. And
Dude,
like I said,
I could go on about game wardens for a while, and I have very, very limited experience. I'm not against hunting at all. I kind of wish I'd do it more, but I don't hunt at all. And I've had problems with, or I've had incidents involved in my life where I've interacted with the system, not any specific game warden.
Sure.
And sure. I've been when I worked for Scott Evans, a local attorney, we had somebody, a gentleman come in. He'd let his grandson borrow his truck. Unbeknownst to him, his grandson went out and poached a deer. Well, this was like a brand new Silverado at the time. And, the state confiscated Grandpa's truck. And so he came in, Scott Evans, and we represented him getting his truck back from the state because it was his grandson's offense and not his. And we had to fight them as if that was more than okay moment. It should have been a very simple, But no, we had to fight him to get this guy's truck back. Absolutely. Civil forfeiture, I mean, that's a whole different show, but civil forfeiture, I got a gigantic problem with. And when it comes to things like deer and fish, especially, it's insanity, man. Pure insanity.
Right, and I'll tell you, and to kind of steer back to what Kyle was asking me there a minute ago is, I've seen some silly laws. You know what I mean? Like I've seen some laws where prime example is, and I won't mention any jurisdictions because that's not my game. I'm not trying to call anybody out. That's not what I do. But prime example is it's a prerequisite in the state of Ohio to be able to have insurance on your vehicle, to be able to operate a motor vehicle, that's just part of the law. It's implied in order to get a driver's license. It's also further implied to be able to have a vehicle registered in the state. But yet there are actual, and on a citation, to clarify, on a citation, when you write a citation, there is a box on the citation that says that they either do or do not provide financial responsibility, and you check yes or no. So it's already part of every uniform citation in the state of Ohio that I know of, and that box is there. However, there is one municipality that I know of or I have heard of that actually has the law independent of that says driving without insurance. And I'm thinking, so let me get this straight. You write them a ticket, and then in that box, you have to choose insurance or no insurance because it's part of the citation to be able to finish it. So you choose no insurance, which means the state acts upon that, which means they suspend their driver's license or whatever. And then you charge them a fine for the same thing, which is already a prerequisite in the state, just because just because it's a way to be able to get a fine, I guess. I don't know, but that's crazy to me, man. I mean, like it's already part of a state law that's already implemented in the way the system works. In order to be able to get a driver's license in the state, you have to be able to, maintain your insurance on your vehicles and stuff. And as a matter of fact, if you don't, they'll suspend your license. So it's already kind of handled, but yet I know of, some jurisdictions actually passed that law to say, oh, well, you have to have insurance here in the city, the town, whatever it may be, or we're going to write you a ticket for it too. That's just crazy to me. That's just crazy. And so yeah, I know that's not near as extreme as the garbage bill bandits down there, but yeah, that's kind of one of the real quick off the top of my head examples I'm familiar with.
No, it's a good example. It does answer the question for me as far as I mean, you at least experienced similar tyranny, basically. I mean, it's all the same when it comes down to what we were talking about earlier as far as morals, right and wrong, and just some of the absurdities that come along with really stuff that as a person in law enforcement, you're forced to look at and evaluate and deal with probably on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, it's and a lot of times if you're not familiar with law enough, and a lot of these young guys aren't, they just kind of think that, oh well, I'm supposed to enforce laws, and granted, it is acting within reasonable good faith because it is a passed law, and until it's been challenged by somebody, I hate to say it, but it's kind of legal until it's proven not to be. Does that make sense? Like I'm it's like until somebody challenges it to say, that's unconstitutional, it's going to be constitutional. Like Tom, right. I remember you talking about this before when we talk about income tax. And income tax, in my opinion, is the most unconstitutional damn thing in the world, and it is until they made an amendment that said that it's not. Exactly. It's not anymore. So, and
if I remember right, it was tried 3 times previously, and Supreme Court struck it down 3 times. And that's why they did an amendment. And there's an interesting, I don't know if you want to call it a conspiracy theory or not. There's a historian out there, and I haven't seen him pop up in the news or anything for a long time. So it'd be interesting to find out what happened to him. But he wrote a book. He was the only person he claimed to have he went to all 37, if I remember right, 37 states that supposedly ratified the, God, what is that? The 16th Amendment, the income tax amendment? I can't remember the number. You know me, the details I get fuzzy on, things like that. But the amendment that made the income tax constitutional, he claims to be the only person that went to all 37 states, went into their archives to look for the original documents of ratification. And he claimed that 2 states did not ratify it, that it went out, that it was, because it was in the 1900s, right? 1900 something. And he claims that it was I don't know if he claimed it was malicious or kind of an oversight. But he talked about there was 2 states, and I think Arizona was one, if I remember right, that actually did not ratify it, but the media thought it did, so they cabled back to D.C. that it had been passed,
Wow.
and that it wasn't, because it was 2 states, one in the Northeast and one in the Southwest. If I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I saw this guy's lecture. He claims there was 2 states that absolutely did not ratify, but yet once it became public, hey, it's ratified, it's passed, and it all got into motion, that nobody was ever – but nobody ever looked. Nobody ever went around and said, wait a minute, did this actually happen? And
Right.
but he claims it was never actually ratified.
And I guess that's what I'm saying when I say it's legal until it's proven otherwise. You know what I mean? Like, until you have somebody that's really willing to get in there and challenge things. And, and we see it occasionally. I mean, obviously we've seen it several times in history, where things are challenged and they go all the way to a state Supreme Court or the United States Supreme Court in order to be able to prove that, no, that is in fact not constitutional. And it's like, wow, we've really been operating under that for a long time. It's like, can I get a refund on some stuff? It's like, so, but listen, guys, I'm going to jump off here. I just wanted to stop up and stop in the chat to give a like and to pledge support and enjoy the chat. And I'm going to continue to enjoy the chat.
Thanks,
but I got to hop down off the panel because I got to go in here and see my lovely wife and my children. But I do want to say Merry Christmas to everybody out there in the chat. God bless you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to Tom. You will love Tom. The more you get to know him, the more you're going to like him. He's full of wisdom. He's full of knowledge, and he's very entertaining as well. So definitely appreciate the support. And Tom and everybody on panel, God bless you guys. Have a Merry Christmas, and I will see everybody soon, I hope.
Merry Christmas, Chad.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, Chad. So there he goes. Yeah, I was going to say, shoot, we're a little over 2 hours now. I thought I was going to close it out at about an hour and 15 minutes, and then we kept hitting threads. We kept talking about Kyle, and next thing you know, it's a little over 2 hours. So I was kind of wanting to at least hang on till Terry got back to say bye, but his phone call must be more interesting than us. I feel hurt. But anyways, hey, man, thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night.
Yeah, of course, bro.
Lisa said Merry Christmas, Chad. But yeah, thanks for being here, man. This is almost like, now that I'm learning sort of the art of live streaming a little more, getting on here and just kind of hanging out is kind of cool too. And even though we're not smoking and drinking together, this is kind of cool. So thanks for being here.
Kind of what we do when we get together anyways, man, just kind of chit chat and stuff. So we had a topic, so that's great. It kind of trailed, but in a good way. And I was happy to be a part of it, man. I'm glad you're doing this stuff. I've been a supporter of you, kind of doing this stuff for a while, and I'm glad that Captain Goo there pushed you to do it and was able to help you get it going. And because I had no idea what I would do with it. I don't know anything about this stuff, so it's been fun, man. I think good topic, like I said. And the more you put out, let me know anytime I can come on and support you and be part of the discussion. And I'm sure I will see you soon, but I'll go ahead and say happy New Year, Merry Christmas to your brother, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, we're going to be, since you mentioned it, we're going to be watching the Ohio State game on New Year's Eve night at Zach's house, unless you have, I assume you already have plans, but if you don't, we'll be there watching the game together, doing the New Year's thing, and hopefully a happy New Year's when Ohio State beats Georgia, but
that's right.
We'll see. Hope springs eternal. And Shay came back. Hey, Shay, thanks for being back. Yeah, we're still here, but we're saying bye to everybody and about to leave. Merry ho, ho, ho. Yes, Kelly, thank you. Merry Christmas to everybody here. And Happy New Year. And yes, I do love Ohio State, Shay. I was born I.O. I was born here, raised here, watched Ohio State as a kid with my mom. She was a big football fan. And then I eventually graduated from Ohio State. And then lived in Columbus for 10 years. So it all comes natural. What's that?
The Ohio State.
The Ohio State University. And Shay, I will see you on the next live stream or at my place of employment without naming it. So we'll catch you guys later. Good night, everybody, and thanks for being here.